Your Honor, I have a medical exemption from my doctor. The paper quivered in trembling hands. Judge Frank Caprio's eyes narrowed, sharp, unblinking. Silence. 20 seconds of unbearable tension. The defendant's complexion drained of color. Show me that document. What followed stunned everyone inside Providence Municipal Court. What no one knew was that Judge Caprio had already made 3 phone calls before this very moment. No one knew what he had uncovered. And no one was prepared for the truth he was about to reveal. This is the story of how one judge's intuition unraveled a web of medical fraud stretching far beyond his courtroom, a story proving why Frank Caprio isn't only a judge, but a master detective in robes. The case file looked routine. Maria Gonzalez, 34. Parking violation. $75 fine. Third offense in 6 months. Standard outcome, pay the fine or complete community service. But when Maria walked into courtroom 6A on that Tuesday morning in March 2023, she carried something that would change everything, a medical excuse. It looked official, sounded professional, and was completely fake. Judge Caprio had presided over Providence Municipal Court for more than 30 years. He had heard every excuse, every sob story, every trick. But something about this morning felt different. The way Maria avoided his eyes. The way her hands shook gripping the paper. The way she spoke too quickly, offering too much detail. Your Honor, Maria began, her voice breaking, I couldn't attend my last 2 hearings because I was hospitalized for severe anxiety. My doctor says I cannot handle stressful environments like court. She slid the paper forward. Official letterhead. Doctor's signature. Medical terms. Everything looked flawless, too flawless. But after 3 decades on the bench, Judge Caprio had cultivated something powerful. Call it instinct. Call it judicial intuition. Call it the wisdom that comes only from seeing people at their most vulnerable. Whatever the name, that morning his gut was shouting. Miss Gonzalez, Judge Caprio said slowly, his voice heavy with suspicion, the kind courthouse regulars recognized instantly, the sound of a judge who smelled a lie. This is quite a detailed medical report. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, very thorough. Maria nodded quickly. Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Mitchell has been treating me for months. She's extremely professional. What Maria didn't realize was that Judge Caprio had already placed his first phone call. The night before, while reviewing the next day's docket, something in Maria's file unsettled him. 3 missed hearings. 3 different excuses. A pattern that made his seasoned judicial mind stop and take notice. So, he did what 3 decades on the bench had taught him, he checked for himself. The first call went to Rhode Island Hospital's main directory. I'm looking for Dr. Sarah Mitchell in your psychiatric department, Caprio asked. I'm sorry, sir, the operator replied. We have no Dr. Sarah Mitchell on staff. The second call went to Providence General. Same question. Same answer. The third call was to the Rhode Island Medical Board's verification database. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, could you spell that last name for me? The clerk asked. After a pause, the voice came back, I'm showing no active medical license for any Sarah Mitchell in Rhode Island, Your Honor. Now, in his courtroom, holding what looked like an official medical excuse signed by a doctor who didn't exist, Judge Caprio stood at a moment that would define not only this case, but his reputation as a judge who could not be deceived. The gallery was full that morning. Local news cameras rolled for their weekly Caught in Providence feature. Dozens of defendants waited their turn. Maria's case was supposed to be routine, until it became anything but. Miss Gonzalez, Judge Caprio said, his voice tightening, each word deliberate. I'm going to ask you a very direct question. Think carefully before you answer. Maria shifted in her seat, nervous. Yes, Your Honor. Have you ever actually met Dr. Sarah Mitchell? The question hung in the air like smoke. Maria's face cycled rapidly, confusion, panic, calculation, then resignation. Yes, Your Honor. Of course I've met her. But Judge Caprio wasn't finished. What no one in the courtroom knew, not even the court reporter, was that he had made one more call that very morning. A call that would crack the case wide open. "Miss Gonzalez," Caprio pressed on, "can you describe Dr. Mitchell's office for me?" Her office?" Maria stammered. "Yes." "Where did you meet her? What did it look like?" Maria's eyes darted wildly around the room. It was a normal doctor's office. White walls, medical equipment. "And where exactly is this office located?" Caprio pressed. "Downtown, near the hospital," Maria replied quickly. Judge Caprio nodded slowly. "Interesting, because I have someone here who would like to speak with you." He motioned to the bailiff, who walked to the back door of the courtroom and opened it. A woman entered, mid-30s, professional, business suit, badge in hand. "Miss Gonzalez," Caprio announced, "I'd like you to meet Detective Lisa Santos of the Providence Police Department's Fraud Division. She's been working on a very particular case involving fake medical documents." The color drained from Maria's face. What followed would soon become courthouse legend. Detective Santos stepped forward, stopping at the defense table. "Ms. Gonzalez," she said firmly, "we've been tracking a fraud ring producing fake medical excuses for the past 6 months. Documents forged on counterfeit letterheads, signed by doctors who don't exist, sold to people trying to dodge court, jobs, even school." She lifted a manila folder. "This folder contains 17 other cases, identical to yours. Same fake doctor. Same fake address. Same fake diagnosis." Judge Caprio leaned forward, his voice razor-sharp. "Miss Gonzalez, you purchased this document, didn't you?" Silence. "You paid someone to create a fraudulent excuse because you thought it would be easier than accepting responsibility for your actions." More silence. "How much did you pay for this?" Maria's reply was barely audible. $50. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Caprio slammed his gavel once. $50, he repeated, voice echoing. "You paid $50 for a fake medical excuse, risked a felony fraud charge, and wasted this court's time, all because you didn't want to pay a $75 parking fine." Subscribe now and hit that notification bell, because what Judge Caprio did next would restore your faith in the justice system. But he wasn't finished. Not yet. "Ms. Gonzalez," Caprio continued, "Detective Santos has uncovered additional information that you need to hear." Detective Santos opened the folder again. "Through our investigation, we learned the individual selling these fake documents is someone you know personally." Maria's eyes went wide. "Your ex-boyfriend, Carlos Rivera, has been running this fraud scheme for 8 months. He's been targeting individuals with unresolved court cases. He charged them between $50 and $100 for forged medical documents." Judge Caprio's voice sharpened. "Miss Gonzalez, your former boyfriend has been using your personal details to identify new prospects. Everyone in your social media network who had legal troubles was approached with offers for these fabricated documents." The revelation was heavy. Maria hadn't only committed fraud, she had been deceived by someone she trusted, someone who twisted their relationship for criminal advantage. But the most startling piece was still to come. Detective Santos pressed forward. "Carlos Rivera was taken into custody yesterday morning. During the search of his residence, we discovered your text exchanges about these fake medical excuses." She raised printed screenshots. "These messages prove you were fully aware of what you were doing. You discussed the price, the fake physician's name, and even joked about tricking the justice system." Judge Caprio's expression turned cold. "Ms. Gonzalez, this isn't merely about defrauding this court. You've become part of a larger criminal conspiracy that has cheated dozens of people and institutions." Then came a shift. Judge Caprio leaned forward, his tone softening just slightly. "But Ms. Gonzalez, Detective Santos and I have an offer for you." Maria raised her eyes, confusion tangled with a flicker of hope. "Your ex-boyfriend's scheme has harmed more than 40 people. Many of them were vulnerable, already facing challenges, people who made mistakes but didn't deserve to be taken advantage of." Judge Caprio leaned back in his chair. "You now have a choice. Either face fraud and conspiracy charges, and most likely prison, or you can work with us. Work with you, how? Maria asked quietly. Carlos Rivera refuses to share information about his clients or his tactics, Detective Santos explained. But you hold knowledge that can help us identify every victim. We're not aiming to punish more of those misled, we want to protect and assist them. But for that, we need your full cooperation. Judge Caprio's voice carried that signature balance, firm yet kind, commanding yet humane. Ms. Gonzalez, this is true leadership. Not the kind your ex-boyfriend displayed, exploiting weakness for personal gain, but the kind that accepts responsibility, helps others, and transforms mistakes into chances for redemption. He gestured across the courtroom. Courtroom. Each person here has stumbled. Each has faced outcomes they wished could be undone. Yet character isn't measured by the errors we commit. It's measured by the way we act once those errors come to light. The moment that followed became the most striking demonstration of judicial wisdom in the history of Providence Municipal Court. Judge Caprio rose from his bench, an action he rarely took during hearings. Ms. Gonzalez, let me share something these 30 years on the bench have taught me. Justice is not solely about punishment. It's about restoration, instruction, and offering people the chance to rise above who they were. His voice carried across the courtroom. Your former boyfriend looked at vulnerable people and chose to exploit them. You now have the chance to look at those same vulnerable people and choose to assist them. He stepped down from behind the bench and stopped directly in front of Maria. If you give complete cooperation to Detective Santos, if you help identify every person harmed by this scheme, if you testify honestly about how this conspiracy functioned, then I am prepared to suspend your fraud charges until after you finish community service. The room was utterly still. But if you decline to cooperate, if you decide to shield the man who exploited both you and dozens of others, then you will face the full weight of the law. Judge Caprio returned to his seat. The choice is yours, Ms. Gonzalez. But choose carefully, because this decision will reveal who you truly are. Maria glanced around the room, the cameras, the other defendants awaiting their cases, Detective Santos, Judge Caprio. I'll cooperate, she whispered. Speak up, Judge Caprio instructed. I'll cooperate fully, Maria repeated more firmly. I'll help identify the victims and testify against Carlos. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on Judge Caprio's decision, and subscribe so you don't miss future extraordinary courtroom moments. Judge Caprio nodded in approval. Detective Santos will provide you with all required paperwork. You'll be expected to give full cooperation, including testimony if this matter goes to trial. He turned his attention to the courtroom. Let this serve as a lesson to all. Deceptive shortcuts always catch up with you. And when they do, you have a choice in who you decide to become. The bailiff began preparing to announce the next case. But Judge Caprio raised his hand. Before we continue, I want to share something with everyone here, he declared. Ms. Gonzalez's case highlights a truth I've learned after 30 years of evaluating human choices. He fixed his gaze directly on the camera. The individuals who stand before me in this courtroom are not inherently bad people. They are people who've made misguided choices, often shaped by difficult circumstances. My role is not to ruin their futures. My role is to guide them so they can learn from their missteps. Judge Caprio's tone softened, becoming more personal. Every person present here today, including myself, has done something they regret. The line between wisdom and foolishness isn't whether you stumble. It's whether you rise, learn from the stumble, and help others avoid falling the same way. He motioned toward Maria. Ms. Gonzalez could have clung to her falsehood. She could have attempted to persuade us that the document was genuine. But instead, when faced with undeniable truth, she chose honesty and cooperation. Yet Judge Caprio had one final revelation, one that would leave the courtroom stunned. Before we close this matter, Judge Caprio announced, I want to reveal something that will surprise every person here today. He opened a folder resting on his desk. Miss Gonzalez, 3 weeks ago, I received a letter. A letter from someone who had been following your situation through shared acquaintances. Maria's face shifted into confusion. The letter was from Dr. Maria Rodriguez, a licensed psychiatrist at Rhode Island Hospital. Through community channels, she learned of your circumstances. Judge Caprio held the letter high for all to see. Dr. Rodriguez wrote to inform me that, based on behaviors described to her, she believes you may benefit from anxiety counseling. The courtroom buzzed with astonishment. She is offering 6 months of free counseling sessions, not because you fabricated a need for them, but because she sincerely believes this support could help you make stronger choices moving forward. Tears welled in Maria's eyes. This, Judge Caprio continued, is what true community looks like. When someone falters, decent people don't simply cast them aside. They step in, not to condemn, but to lift them up so they can grow. He turned his attention back to the camera. Dr. Rodriguez will likely never meet most of you watching. Yet her willingness to help someone who deceived the justice system demonstrates the type of character that strengthens communities. Judge Caprio's voice rose with conviction. This is leadership, my friends. Not leadership that chases power or profit, but leadership that sees someone in pain and asks, "How can I help?" And in that closing moment, it became clear why Judge Caprio holds the title of America's most beloved judge. Miss Gonzalez, Judge Caprio began, you walked into this courtroom today holding a forged document, attempting to sidestep accountability for your choices. But you're leaving with a genuine chance to confront the deeper issues that drove those choices. He smiled, the very first time throughout the entire hearing. Sometimes, the greatest thing that can happen to us is being caught. Because being caught forces us to face who we've become, and decide who we want to be. Judge Caprio scanned the room one final time. To everyone here, and to everyone watching, remember this, leadership is not about perfection. It's about owning your mistakes when you fall short. It's about lifting others when they struggle. And it's about choosing truth over convenience, every single time. He tapped his gavel softly. Case dismissed, with conditions. Ms. Gonzalez, work alongside Detective Santos and Dr. Rodriguez. Make sure this mistake becomes a turning point that leads somewhere better. As Maria walked toward the exit, she paused, turned back, and said quietly, "Thank you, Your Honor, for giving me the chance to change." Judge Caprio nodded firmly. "Don't thank me. Thank Dr. Rodriguez. Assist Detective Santos. And prove, through your actions, that second chances are worth granting." The cameras caught Maria leaving the courtroom accompanied by Detective Santos and a social worker dispatched by Dr. Rodriguez to begin her counseling intake. 3 months later, Maria's cooperation helped uncover 38 victims of the fraudulent medical document scheme. Carlos Rivera received an 18-month prison sentence and was ordered to repay every victim. Maria fulfilled her community service, completed her therapy sessions with Dr. Rodriguez, and even founded a support group for individuals struggling with legal-related anxiety. But the most meaningful result wasn't captured on camera. 2 weeks after her court appearance, Maria mailed Judge Caprio a handwritten letter. "Your Honor," it read, "the day you exposed my lie was the day my life began to improve. Not because of punishment, but because you showed me that, even at my lowest, there were still good people willing to help me rise. That's a lesson I'll carry forever, and one I'm now passing on to others." Judge Caprio kept that letter tucked inside his desk drawer. Because after 3 decades on the bench, he understood that the greatest victories weren't the ones splashed across headlines, they were the ones that transformed lives. And in a modest courtroom in Providence, Rhode Island, one judge's compassion and intuition proved that justice, at its best, doesn't just punish, it heals. A refusal to accept a forged excuse had created something genuine, hope, redemption, and undeniable proof that justice and compassion are not enemies. They are allies. The fraudulent document that began it all. Judge Caprio had it framed in his office. Not as a prize, but as a reminder that sometimes the greatest duty of a leader is to reject the lie and demand the truth. Even when the truth is uncomfortable. Because in the end, truth doesn't just liberate people. It gives them the chance to step into who they were always meant to be. But this story held one last twist no one anticipated. 6 months after the case concluded, an unexpected visitor arrived at Judge Caprio's chambers. It wasn't Maria Gonzalez, though she had been sending steady updates on her progress with counseling and community service. It wasn't Detective Santos, though the fraud investigation had grown into one of the most successful operations in Providence police history. It was Dr. Maria Rodriguez, the psychiatrist who had offered Maria free therapy. Judge Caprio, Dr. Rodriguez began as she settled into the chair across from his desk. I wanted to thank you personally for how you handled Maria's case. But I also have something to share that I believe will interest you. She placed her briefcase on the desk, unlatched it, and withdrew a thick manila folder. In the 6 months since you referred Maria to me, something extraordinary has unfolded. Word spread through the community about the way you approached her case. And I've had 17 other people reach out to me, people who were also victims of Carlos Rivera's fraudulent document scheme. Judge Caprio leaned forward, curiosity sharp in his eyes. But here's what's truly remarkable, Dr. Rodriguez continued. None of them came because they were compelled to. They came because Maria told them that getting caught lying in your courtroom was the best thing that ever happened to her. She opened the folder, revealing a bundle of handwritten letters. These, she said, are thank you notes from people whose lives turned around because of how you handled one case. People who chose to confront their problems instead of hide from them. People who discovered that real help was waiting, if they asked for it honestly. Judge Caprio lifted one letter, then another, reading silently. With each page, his expression grew more reflective, more humbled. At last he looked up. Dr. Rodriguez, he said quietly, in 30 years on this bench, I've learned that every case teaches me something about human nature. But this case taught me about the ripple effect of choosing what's right. He gestured toward the letters. When I chose to offer Maria cooperation instead of mere punishment, I was thinking about just one person. I had no idea that choice would touch dozens more. Dr. Rodriguez smiled warmly. That's the essence of true leadership, isn't it? You make the right decision for the right reasons, and it sends ripples you never imagined. Judge Caprio stood and walked to the window, gazing out over the city of Providence. You know what the hardest part of being a judge is? He asked without turning back. It's remembering that every individual standing before you is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's hope for a better life. It's easy to see the crime and forget the human being. He turned back to Dr. Rodriguez. But occasionally, a case comes along that reminds you why you became a judge in the first place. Maria's case was one of those for me, dear. Dr. Rodriguez gathered her papers. Well, I thought you should know, your reminder has become a brand new beginning for many others. As she started to leave, Judge Caprio called out. Dr. Rodriguez, one more thing. How is Maria really doing? Her face lit with a genuine smile. She's doing wonderfully. She completed her community service 2 months early. She's been attending anxiety management classes, not because she has to, but because she wants to. And last month, she began volunteering with a program that helps people navigate the court system. She tells everyone she meets that the day she got caught lying was the day she began living honestly. That's a powerful testament to your approach, Judge. After Dr. Rodriguez departed, Judge Caprio sat alone in his chambers, reflecting on the unexpected consequences of that March morning when a fake medical excuse had entered his courtroom. He opened his desk drawer and looked at the framed fraudulent document, the one supposedly signed by the non-existent Dr. Sarah Mitchell. Beneath it, he had added a new piece, Maria's original thank you letter, now joined by 17 others from people whose lives had been changed by this single case. Sometimes, Judge Caprio reflected, the most important cases aren't the ones that make headlines. They're the ones that remind human beings they are capable of becoming better than they ever believed. And in a small courthouse in Providence, Rhode Island, that lesson continued to spread outward, one honest conversation at a time.